welcome back for another Not Too Shabby Shop Design Team project. Today I'm bringing you this unisex birthday card featuring the Pig Time Fun stamp set that was part of the June MFT release. Unfortunately, this has sold out both at MFT and the Not Too Shabby Shop. So I will link to my favorite things and you can put yourself on the waiting list if you would like to receive this adorable, or purchase I should say, this adorable stamp set. I saw a Instagram post from Alberto, and I'm going to link his channel or his YouTube account in the description box below. I'm sure you've seen his coloring. He is just an amazing colorist. He oftentimes, for my favorite things, does short little videos. He also does some keys where he shows how he colored something. So for these pigs, he showed 3 different ways how he colored them. And what I did is I went with the darkest, most highest contrast version that he had, and I followed it. I could just see where the shadows were. I was able to see where the highlights were. I know how to use Copic markers, so I knew that I was going to go from dark to light. My darkest color, as you can see where the pig's head is rounding, I started by laying down some of that color, which was an E17, and then I also blended it out with an E15, again with an E13. Finally, the highlight in the center of the face was with an E11. Now, I went back over it a second time. You can see that I really have a high contrast going on here. I've added more depth to the cheeks, making sure that they're a little bit darker, and then I used my E13 to blend that out just a little bit. I'll color the bottom of the pig the same way. For the shadowing, when I started my coloring, I did not go all the way up against the line, so I did stamp my images using some Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I am using Copic Express It paper, but I rounded the pig's face. I used the darkest color, which was that E17, around the inside edge of the face, making sure that I had space between the stamped line and the curve that I put down with my darkest marker, and then I blended back with my E15. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I'm not going to color everything for you. I'm just coloring up this one little pig. I used some neutral colors for his hooves, and then I'm going to use some YR markers for the little inner tube. And I'm going to do the same thing with that curve. I'm going to add a little bit of roundness to that inner tube by adding my darkest color first. And you're going to see right here, I did not go all the way to the stamped line. I'm slightly above it, and that's going to help add just a little bit more curve to this image. I did want to talk about the stamp set. It comes with 3 little pigs. There is a lighthouse. There's some sentiments and accessories that go along with this. The release was absolutely adorable. So if you like the stamp set, as I mentioned, you can put yourself on the waiting list and it will come back in stock. Here's a look at my black gel pen. I added it to the eyes, and then I accidentally added a dot to the cheek, and right there I waited for it to dry just a little bit, and then I used the end of a pin and I just scraped it off, and then I went back over it with my white gel pen. I added the centers to the eyes, I added some highlights and some freckles, and I did the same thing to the sailboat. I keep wanting to call it a sail ship. To the sailboat, and also to the other pig, which I colored off camera. And I love what that white gel pen does. You can see that I did have a couple of the hats that I colored up, and I also am going to color up a couple birds off camera. Here is, I used a penny black stamp, or a penny black die. It's a distressed edge slimline die, and then it comes with a second piece which will cut out the holes. So I used those two pieces together to make sure that I had that distressed edge, and I cut out the holes. And then I used this same coordinating paper. So this is an older paper pack from Bo Bunny. It was a 12 by 12 pack. I've probably had this for 10 years. And that's one of the things that I love about Slimline dies and cards, is that I'm able to use some of that scrapbook paper that I may not necessarily use for scrapbooking anymore, but I can still use it to create my cards. I added some dimension to the back of the panel. Now this paper is thinner than cardstock that I typically use, so I was very careful making sure that I got it on there nice and gently, because if you stretch it too far, then you're going to kind of have a bend in your paper. So I made sure that it was going to lay really flat, and then I'm going to add a little bit of jute around the sides. I know I'm going to place my sailboat, oh my goodness, my sailboat to the center of that circle, so that circle is going to be covered. So I'm just adding a little bit of washi tape to the back of that, and then I'll remove my release paper, and I'm going to center it onto an 8.5 by 3.5 inch card base. I've added foam tape to the back of my sailboat, both at the top and the bottom. I made sure that the center of it didn't have any foam tape so that it could go around that twine nicely. And then I'm going to glue this one pig with some wet glue to the top of that sailboat. And I've added foam tape to the other two pigs, making sure that they are going to have the same dimension as the sailboat's going to have. And I like the way that this paper really coordinated well. Obviously, it's nautical themed. I created this right before, well, a little bit before the 4th of July, so I've had this queued for quite some time, and I just had the stars on my mind, the red, white, and blue, and I think that the color combination is just perfect for a summertime birthday card. We are going to be having a Stamp and Die of the Month hop on the 7th. If you missed the hop on the 1st for the box of the month, please make sure that you enter for a chance to win a $25 gift card to the Not Too Shabby shop by hopping along and leaving comments along the way. The Stamp and Die of the Month is absolutely adorable, so I'm sure that you are going to be inspired by that hop as well. I did trim that twine, so what I did is I took a piece of twine, I folded it in half, and then I tied a knot. Where the fold was, I went ahead and cut that, then I trimmed it down. I am going to use some off camera. I used that hot glue gun to glue the ends so that that jute twine didn't fray. For the brad, it came from the same Bo Bunny collection as the paper, so all I did was cut off the brad part of the button, and then I hot glued it to the knot on my little jute piece. And I just think that that really adds to the nautical theme. Here are the hats, so I colored the two hats that are available, and I'm going to place them on the bottom two pigs. I'm also going to add those little seagulls. I'll add one to the top, and again I'm going to add just a little bit of foam tape to the back of that to give it the same dimension as all of my other images. I'll use the sentiment from the stamp set that says, "Let's celebrate together," S-A-I-L. Again, sticking with that nautical theme. And there's one of those seagulls. The bottom, you're going to see here in just a moment that I struggled with where I wanted to put my sentiment, because when I placed my underlying piece of pattern paper, the bottom circle actually has a steering wheel for a ship, so a ship's wheel, as you can see, and I really didn't want to cover that up, but unfortunately The bottom side, the bottom right side of this card is the perfect placement for my sentiment, so I did have to cover that up, and I kind of lost a little bit of that wheel. You can't really tell what it is, but the colors look nice together. Here is where I'm stamping my sentiment. I am going to use my Versamark Black Onyx ink, VersaFine Black Onyx ink. That always gives me a nice crisp image. It does stay wet a little bit longer, so you do need to be a little bit careful when you're handling it if you don't let it sit and dry. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this video, I would absolutely love for you to give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment, let me know. Do you ever follow Alberto and try to mimic some of his coloring? Even if you're just looking for color combinations, he really does have a great eye for color and Copic markers, so he's a great person to follow for just a little bit of inspiration as you go on your Copic marker journey. Here's a look at the dimension on the card. I'll show you one final look, and that is the end of my video for today. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.